Okay, we're recording. Alyssa, and am I saying your name properly? Is it
Yeah,
Alyssa? Okay.
Alyssa.
I
Yep,
had I met somebody previously who was Elisa, so I'm like, oh,
I
I
get that a
better
lot.
ask about
I
that.
appreciate you
Okay.
checking.
Alyssa, good to see you this morning. Wanted to start this morning just by talking about what would you like to focus on today? What brought you in to
Yeah.
talk?
Well, I'm considering making a change in my life. It's not in super significant, but it gives me a little bit of anxiety. So I've been working with some doctors, and a few of them are recommending that I cut out gluten and wheat and
Okay.
eggs. And
Gluten, wheat, and eggs.
eggs. Yeah.
Okay.
So it feels like, those are things that are in a lot of foods. Um, I it's yeah. Yeah, so that's what they've recommended. I am someone who really likes to eat whatever I want. I've never been good at, like, keeping to, diets in terms of this kind of a thing. Like, I've never
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed dieting, but especially, like, cutting out any one food or food group is like, ugh, I don't wanna do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is.
Okay, so it sounds like you were having some kind of difficulty, which led your doctors to recommend this change.
Yep, it's actually, so it has to do with fertility. Uh,
Okay,
this is what they are
so they're like, this would be important.
yes.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about what would this actually require of you? What would it look like if you do this?
Yeah, well, it would require a lot more thought and planning on my
Mhm.
part, in terms of grocery shopping, cooking. I'd have to really consider, you know, if I'm eating out, where I'm eating out. I'd probably have to, like, research the menus before going. Um, and yeah, it's just, yeah, it's a lot. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it would be a big change for me.
Absolutely. It sounds like a tremendous amount.
Mhm.
Um, it doesn't sound small at all. That's a big change in your life without any question.
Yeah.
As you think about that change, Alyssa, you know, how realistic does it feel to you? Scale of 1 to 10, 10
Mhm.
being absolutely, I'm going to do this, no
Mhm.
problem. Where would you put yourself on? And the other one being, I'm not sure I can do it, or I'm not sure I want to. Where would you put yourself on that scale?
I would say at this point in my journey, because this is not the beginning of it, I would put myself at a 6 right now.
At a 6. Okay. And what keeps you, what causes you to even say it's a 6? Why isn't it lower?
Because it's surrounding fertility. That's
Hmm.
if it were just a lifestyle change with not really any reasoning behind it, I think I would have lower motivation. But because this is something that, we want and we've been trying for and it's not happening, that is making my motivation go up.
Okay. So staying kind of in that arena and looking at, so it sounds as if you really want to do this. I mean, fertility and that opportunity to have children is a huge motivator for anyone.
Yeah.
But as you look at it and you think about, what would be the positives of that, and what are the potential downsides? Because again, you're talking about making a very big change in
Yeah.
this instance.
Yeah, I mean, the positives are, I would feel better. I know I would feel better. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I, would potentially get pregnant, which would be a positive. I would probably experience less discomfort in my body
Mm-hmm.
around eating. Um, I think the downsides are that it would just shake things up. I would just have to be giving it's it's hard for me already to, I'm not great at, like, maintaining a routine when it comes to food. I get, like, sometimes I forget to eat a meal. So I would have to I would have to be packing meals. I would have to be I couldn't just eat when I was hungry
Right.
because I have to make sure that there's gluten-free stuff in the house. And, I can't just grab things that I would normally have grabbed, granola bars or cereal, because it's a lot of that has gluten in it. So I would have to think ahead. I would have to make sure that the house is stocked. Can't just stop at any deli for a sandwich. I'd have to
Absolutely.
get something that has gluten-free options. So, and that's the part that I feel anxious about, because I'm already not good at that. I'm
Hmm.
eating things on the go, or oh shoot, I'm really hungry now. I forgot that I didn't eat breakfast. And, that's just, I'm not going to be able to do those things last minute anymore.
So it sounds like you have, your desire to do this is extremely high.
Yeah.
Even
Mhm.
though you gave yourself a 6, it's something that's very important.
Yeah.
Um, the reason you have for doing it is one of the larger reasons in our lives to make a change,
Mhm.
because of the potential outcome. And the sounds like your questions really revolve around your ability to make those things
Yeah.
happen.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's true.
So think for a minute about another change that you may have made in your life and what served you well in doing that. So what's another change that you've worked on in your past that you've successfully implemented?
Well, I recently cut out alcohol,
Well, that is huge.
actually. Yeah.
Okay. When did this happen?
Um, well, it's something that I've been working on in therapy for, I would say, a couple of years,
Okay.
and have sort of been in and out of sobriety. And now I've been sober for about 2.5 months now.
Okay. Talk to me. Tell me about how you did that. That is an extremely large step.
Yeah. Um, well, I could feel myself moving through the stages of change. I think I was
Mm-hmm.
pre-contemplation for a long time, contemplation for about a year, I would
Mm-hmm.
say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe more. I was planning, I don't know, maybe for a few months, or preparing for a few months. And now I forget. I think it's maintaining. Maybe it's the next one.
Well, I think activating it or something like it, you actually do it
Yeah.
and then you
Yeah.
maintain.
And now it just doesn't, I don't know, it feels easy now. It, I was sober for 4 months last year, and it was just more it took more mental energy. I had to think about it. And
Mm-hmm.
this time around, I'm not really having to think about it. I'm just yeah, I just
So
don't
you
feel.
almost practiced.
I did kind of. I sort of
You
had
kind of,
I had to move through those phases, because I was not ready at all to implement it when I first started to work on it in therapy at all. I was pretty resistant.
yeah. Think about, Alyssa, what kinds of skills or what kinds of abilities did you have to tap into in
Hmm,
order to make that happen?
good question. I mean, I don't know if this is a I don't know if this counts, but willpower,
Hmm.
motivation,
Mhm.
internal
Tell me
motivation.
about tapping into willpower.
Yeah, I've never been good at that.
Most of us aren't,
Good at that.
but you did. So
Yeah.
something happened.
Oh, this is making me go more deep. I mean, I just started to see more benefits than downsides.
Hmm.
It just over time it started to become less scary, And what else happened? I think it was very much tied to other therapeutic work because there was a part of me that really was sort of afraid to like feel good consistently
Mhm.
because, addiction runs in my family,
Yep.
mental illness runs in my family. I haven't had a lot of examples of people really living their life fully. And so there was a part of me that just felt more familiar kind of staying here.
Mhm.
That felt like the last hurdle for me when I sort of accepted like, okay, it's gonna feel scary, but like it's okay to like kind of move up. Like I could, you know,
Go to that next
feel
step.
like this rather than like this all the time.
How does that compare to trying to cut those things out of your life? Gluten and like wheat and eggs. Compare the two for me as far as, cutting out alcohol, you were able to clearly see what the benefits were, and you got over being scared. And I hear a little bit of, I don't know if I would call it scared, but anxiety about cutting out.
Yeah. Well, I think I mean, if we're really looking at this from a deeper perspective, I think it's possible that there is fear around, like, if I were to commit to this dietary change, I might actually get pregnant, which means that I might actually become a
Okay.
parent.
Okay. So that's a big reveal,
Mhm.
so to speak, and completely understandable. I mean, getting pregnant and having a child is a huge step in an individual's life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe, taking just keeping that in mind that that might be at play here as you try to figure out how to go about this.
Yeah.
When are you thinking about making this change?
Well, it's now. I mean, it was recommended to me, I think, a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I've like slowly been implementing. I told my husband, he's been trying to, he kind of helps me, like he's the cook in our family. So he's been
Oh,
trying to,
okay.
to cook more options for me. I just recently did a little grocery haul where I had to like go to like a specialty place, but I got like
Mm-hmm.
free, breadcrumbs, pizza dough, like things that we have regularly. And I just like stocked our cabinet so that um yeah, so it would be better for me. So, I'm taking baby steps.
Those don't even sound like baby steps to me. They sound like pretty big steps.
Yeah.
Uh, what else would cause you to be less anxious about making the change? What other actions might you take to make that happen?
I could tell my friends and family that
Mhm.
I'm making the change so that they could I just realized that there's another piece of this, which is feeling like a burden to other people.
Okay.
Like if I told, my in-laws like I'm going gluten-free and egg-free, they would have to, we go over to their house often for meals, and so they would really have to think about how they were preparing meals, and I know
How,
they do it, but I just feel
well, and how do you think they would feel about doing that to support you in your quest for fertility?
well, especially because it's fertility, they would be I mean,
Hmm.
they are so supportive, and so, like, they are really wanting this as well.
Hmm.
So, I
There's
know they
something
do
that,
it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I know they do it. I just feel bad because it would be, like, extra prep and, probably more money and, just extra energy and time that they would have to put into any meals that I would be eating also.
Mhm. How could you manage that? What might you do to reduce that with them and with yourself, that feeling of being a burden or fear of being a burden?
Mm, that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, I think it's just me. I think I would just have to get comfortable with the fact that, I'm not a burden. I know my logical brain knows that they don't think of me as
Mhm,
a burden, especially if it might lead to them having grandchildren.
mhm.
But, there's this other piece of me that's
Have
younger.
you had that conversation with them?
No, I have not yet.
Okay. Well, our time is almost up. Would you mind if I offered some advice or
Yeah, yeah,
an
please.
idea? I mean, you are far down the path of wanting to do this.
Mhm.
And there are a couple of things that sound a little scary or difficult, and that is, changing your life so you're actually manage that and planning and preparing. And then the second piece that you just brought up, which is feeling like that's going to cause other people trouble. That's my word, not yours. And maybe look at that piece and think about, how could I address it? How could I bring it out with them before I even start, perhaps, or before I go too far, that might allow them to respond and reflect on it with you, and I think support you.
Yeah,
So that might be a conversation.
yeah,
Okay.
I appreciate
Well,
that.
thank you very much. I appreciate your time today. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
I think you already have a plan. I think you just have a few things that you might go back and revisit
Mhm,
that would continue to support you as
mhm.
you make that change.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. No, that's not the right one.
Mhm.
Mhm.